Hello everyone and welcome to a new modding tutorial. So about 18 months ago by the looks of it, I did a modding tutorial series on this YouTube channel, which is now more or less dead, but I'm still alive if you were wondering. And I've been making mods the whole time. I've gained a lot more experience, and I thought I would once again try to pass along some of that knowledge. So the previous tutorial was for Minecraft 1.7.10. We are going to be working with 1.11. Now, don't run away just yet if your target is 1.10. A lot of this information would still apply to 1.9 and 1.10, and to some extent even 1.8 if for some crazy reason you were working on that version. So the structure of this tutorial is going to be pretty similar to last time. This video, I'm going to go over the basics of setting Forge up and getting ready to go. In the next video, we will be discussing creating the basic mod class and some simple groundwork like proxies. Then, from that point, we'll get to the actual meat by creating a block or item. And that'll probably be around episode 3 or 4 if I had to guess. So for right now, I've already got a 1.11 environment set up. I'm going to go ahead and basically just scrap this and reset it up from the beginning. So before I do that, I would like to say this is not a programming tutorial. I'm going to assume that you have some prior programming experience, not necessarily Java, but I do recommend that you have some knowledge of an object-oriented programming language. Again, you could go into this with absolutely no programming experience, and you could probably make it through. But I really recommend learning some basic programming first. There are plenty of great resources out there on the internet. All you need to do is search a little bit for them. So I am on Windows 10. We are going to be using Eclipse for our integrated development environment. Another popular choice, and what many people seem to think is the superior one, and I'm not going to argue with them, is IntelliJ IDEA, and I've used it a little bit. I do think, for the most part, it is superior, but Eclipse has one particular feature that I haven't been able to figure out how to reproduce in IntelliJ, and that is the ability to have multiple mod projects going in one environment and running in one instance of Minecraft. So in the instance I have right here, I have several mods I'm working on. If I click debug, it will load Minecraft with all of these. And in IntelliJ, you cannot do that to my knowledge. So this just makes working with multiple mods a little bit better. If you want to use IntelliJ, go for it. I'm using Eclipse. So after you've selected your IDE, or Integrated Development Environment, whether it be Eclipse, IntelliJ, or something else, actually I'm not sure if you can use anything else, we're going to want to go to files.minecraftforge.net to download an instance of Forge. So normally this site will have some ads on it, but I blocked them just for the sake of the video. So select your Minecraft version of choice. You could go 1.10.2 if you wanted to. It defaults to whatever the latest recommended version is. So we've got a recommended version of 1.11 here. And it will also display the latest version. Usually the latest will be newer. In this case, they are both the same. So whichever one of these, if you need to, you can read the changelog and see what was changed in each version. But we're just going to go ahead and grab the MDK here for the recommended build. And yes, it will send you through one of these, through add focus, and yeah, don't fall for that stuff down there. Just click skip, that's an ad. Alright, and we've got Forge downloaded, so where do we put it? So if you open up the zip file, this is what we have in it. And I recommend creating a folder for doing your mod development in. I have one on my D drive, which is my hard drive. Let me just bring this over here. This is my development folder, the Abyss, called Abyss because of historical reasons. And it's got a lot of junk in it. Most of this is just kind of legacy stuff that's here from an earlier time and not really used anymore. What you are going to want to do is have a folder for Forge. I typically go Forge, a hyphen, and then the Minecraft version number, so Forge-1.11. And if you look in here, you'll notice the contents are very similar to the zip file we downloaded. I'm going to go ahead and delete that because I'm replacing it. And it can't be done because it's open in Eclipse. Okay. Okay, let's try that one more time without Eclipse open. Okay, so that was a lot of items. So let's go ahead and create our Forge folder. And create one more folder called Source. So we're going to have a Forge 1.11 folder and a Source folder. All this other stuff, like I said, is just legacy stuff or like other folders that I use for some other things. You could create a libs folder as well if you want. This is where I put mods I've downloaded that I work with. For example, sometimes it's useful to have a JEI recipe handler, so I just download builds of JEI and stick them in here as I need them. But otherwise, just Forge and Source. So let's go into our new Forge folder. Take the files from our zip file that we downloaded, the Forge MDK. Make sure you got the MDK. And just extract them right there with 7-zip, or I think you can also open zip files in Windows Explorer. Just select them, click and drag into the Forge folder. So one thing you could do is check out this README. And it has some basic instructions here. So one of the main commands that you'll be using is Gradle W, set up decomp workspace, and I'm going to walk you through doing that. And then there's another command, Gradle W Eclipse, to set up the Eclipse workspace, and we can actually run these together. And it also has instructions here for using IntelliJ, so you can follow along with those. So what we're going to need to do is open a command prompt window, and an easy way to do that with Windows Explorer here is to hold Shift, right-click, open command window here. So this will open a command prompt window to the folder that we were in Explorer. So now, Gradle W, set up decomp workspace, and I'm going to go ahead and tell it to do the Eclipse command as well. So go ahead and run that. I apologize if you can hear the cat outside. So to honor the JVM settings for this build, a new JVM will be forked. Don't think I've ever seen that one before. I guess that's a new message. But this command will take a few minutes depending on your system. It does have to download some files, and I will try to show you where some of those files go, if I can find them. Yeah, I'm not having much luck finding these files at the moment. I'll pinpoint their location in a moment. I think it's buried somewhere deep in your app data folder. So we are done here. We have successfully set up Forge in this directory here. It's created some new files and folders in here. So we can go ahead and get rid of that zip file and don't need that README anymore. We can close the command prompt window. And something new I'm going to show you here that I didn't show in the previous version of this tutorial is how to update Forge. So you'll notice there is a build.gradle file here in your Forge directory. So you can open this with a basic text editor. I've already got that .gradle extension associated with Notepad++. I do recommend that you have Notepad++ for editing some files. It is incredibly useful. I can't recommend the program enough. So there's a lot of stuff in here. There's two lines in particular I want you to pay attention to. There's this one and this one. So you can see this version number here matches the Forge version we just installed. Now, if you want to update Forge to a newer version, go back to the website here, get the version that you need, and change it in your build.gradle file to match the version that you want to download. So say if like 2189 had just been released, I could do that. And then you can just run the setup all over again. Open command prompt, Gradle W, set up decomp workspace. And I don't know if you need to do the Eclipse part again, but that's what I normally do. Just hit enter. It will download this new version of Forge, and of course be sure to save your build.gradle first. There is no 2189 out just yet, so I'm not going to do that. The outer line is the mappings, and this is one that you won't change very often, but occasionally you will need to update your mappings. And this is basically Minecraft as it ships has all the names in its code obfuscated. They've been replaced with just nonsensical names instead of the normal meaningful names that you would see in source code. So the mappings are basically taking those nonsense names and giving them meaningful names. And occasionally you will need to update your mappings. It's not something that's always necessary, but for compatibility reasons, you will need to update mappings occasionally. Usually it will say something about it in the Forge changelog, I think. I'm still trying to figure out when exactly you would need to update mappings. I know there are newer versions than the 2016 11.11, but we're going to stick with that for now. Actually, that was a small mistake on my part. We actually should be using 2016 11.22, if I'm not mistaken. That adds some mappings for the new item stack methods, which we will most likely need in a couple of episodes. Alright, so we've got our Forge folder set up here. So now we can go ahead and open Eclipse. Ideally. Eclipse on my computer is a little bit funky. Hold on just a moment. I may have to use a desktop shortcut. Okay, so now it wants us to select a directory as a workspace. So you're going to go into your dev folder, your Forge folder, and in there's a directory called Eclipse. Right there. It created that folder for us earlier. And we want to point it at that directory. Okay, so we got Eclipse open here, and I don't know why Eclipse doesn't save settings globally, so everything's all hideous and sized in ways I do not like, so I'm going to really quickly set up my preferences. Let's see, I'll just walk you through it really quickly. I like the dark theme. And actually, I think there's something missing here. I'll worry about that in a moment. So I have my own cleanup and formatter preferences already, so you can set up Eclipse however you like, and then you can export your settings. You may have noticed I had some files right here. I've got my cleanup XML file, which I can just import. And I've got a formatter as well. So I do recommend once you get your settings the way you like them, that you export them so that you can import them whenever you need to set up a new environment. Okay, yeah, I'm starting to see why people like IntelliJ. I get kind of tired of having to redo the same thing over and over again. But until I can find a way to set up multiple mod projects in the same workspace, I'm sticking with Eclipse. Ah, there we go. I love my Monokai. What about you guys? What theme do you like? Well, that looks like Monokai. Was it not already selected? Yeah, it looks like it was. Okay, well, here we are in Eclipse. So you'll notice there's an MDK example project, and the file I've got open is located right here. This is a very, very simple example mod. But we'll go into creating an actual mod, the actual mod file here a bit later. So let's go ahead and close that. For now, though, let's go ahead and create a new project. So we're going to right-click somewhere in the Package Explorer over here, go to New, Java Project, and let's just call it Tutorial. All these settings here are okay. And something I forgot to mention earlier, and I believe I made the same mistake in the previous series, is you do need a JDK installed, so be sure to go grab one of those. I think you have to go grab a JDK yourself. Or one might come with Eclipse, I'm not sure. I mean, I normally install a JDK right away, so... Okay, let's click Next. So we got a couple things we need to change here. We didn't need to change anything else except putting in a project name here. So we're going to click on the source folder here, remove from build path. We don't want to use that. Right-click on our project up here, Tutorial, and Link Source. And we're going to click on Browse. Okay, so we're going to go into our mod dev folder, into the source folder that we created earlier, but unfortunately your source folder is empty, so what should you do? Well, I recommend creating... Let's go to source. I do a folder for each Minecraft version that I work in, just to keep the source separate so I can maintain two versions or at once. So currently I'm kind of maintaining 1.10.2 and 1.11 simultaneously, although I'm still working on ports to 1.11. So go ahead and create a 1.11 folder if you choose to do so. And in there, let's create another new folder. And we're going to call it whatever we want our mod to be. So in this case, it's just tutorial. And what exactly you name this folder isn't going to impact anything. Nothing you're working with is going to see the name of this particular folder, but I like to keep it the same as my mod ID, which we will get to later. So one thing to note, in 1.11, all mod IDs are automatically lowercased. So you want lowercase English letters, or Latin letters, and underscores. So just A through Z and underscores. I still, for legacy reasons, have capital letters in mind, and it's not really going to hurt anything since it lowercases them automatically. But that's just something to keep in mind. Forge is going to lowercase most things that you give it. So inside our mod folder, let's go ahead and create common and resources. And again, the names of these folders don't really matter. I learned common and resources. You might also see source and resources. Something like that. Common is going to hold our code, and resources is going to hold assets. Now, the resources folder has a very specific file structure inside of it that we're going to have to create later, but we're not going to worry about that for right now. So now, back here in Eclipse, we're going to go to the common folder we've created, select that. And just for simplicity, I'm going to just copy that here. And there's more stuff here. We don't need that. Just click Finish. And do the same thing again. Right-click on Tutorial. Link Source. This time, we're going to be doing Resources. Make sure you put Resources down in the folder name as well. Or you could just click Browse and find it again. And Finish. So this should be all you need to do. So you can, if your project depends on another one, add that here. We're not going to be doing that for the tutorial mod. If there are any external jars you need, you could add external jars, and that's what the libs folder I was showing you before is for. So if you need JEI, you could select the JEI jar you downloaded. We're not going to do that. So that is everything we need to do here for right now. So let's go ahead and click Finish. And this is a part where I'm not quite sure what the proper way of doing this is. So as we've created our project now, it doesn't know anything about Minecraft. Now in the past, Forge set up a Minecraft project and you just set that to be a required project for your mod. But it doesn't work with the MDK example last I looked at it. So this is my solution. Again, it's a little bit weird and there's probably a better way, but I have yet to figure it out. So we're going to go back into our Forge folder and there's this .classpath file. I'm going to open that in Notepad++, and it's got a bunch of lines in it. And this is actually those files I was mentioning earlier. So actually that's a bit different than what I thought it was. It is not in your app data folder. It's in your users folder though. Modules 2, files 2.1. Like I said, it's a very convoluted path, and there's a lot of these files that I'm not sure how many of these you actually need in your project, but we're going to say all of them. So I'm going to go to the start of this line that has these files in them, the one with your username and the path. I'm going to select all the way down. And yes, all the way down through this last line. I'm going to copy that. Now don't select this very last non-empty line here where it has the ending tag right there. Just all the ones that have your username in the path. Now back in our Forge folder, we're going to go under Eclipse. Now you'll see there's a folder called whatever you named your mod project. Go in there. There's a .classpath file in here as well. So open that up. You'll see it's a similar structure but very empty. We're going to go after this next to last line before the closing tag and paste in what we copied. So like I said, it's convoluted, but it works. And there's probably a better way to do that. If you happen to know what the proper way to do that is, please tell me. Not that this takes any significant amount of time, but it feels like a bit of a hack. So our mod project is ready to go. We can start working on our code now. But I'm going to save that for the next episode. So next time we will get started with creating the basic mod class. We will probably start on proxies. I think last time I ignored the proxies, but this time I'm going to rely a bit more heavily on them. I believe that is a good practice overall, and it will help you understand the difference between the client and the server, which is a very important distinction in Minecraft. So there is a client and a server side, and if things happen on the wrong side, they don't work properly. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I look forward to making more modding tutorials here. I hope this series will go on longer than the last one, which I think was like 7 episodes. If you have anything in particular you would like me to cover with this mod making tutorial, let me know in the comments. And I will see you on the next episode.